Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Orange County School Board's Rule Development Workshop for Tuesday, March 26, 2024. The Rule Development Workshop has been scheduled today for the purpose of discussing the following. 1, a spring rezoning, Relief Elementary School E-2, 2 targeted rezonings in the Apopka and Oak Ridge areas, and a technical elementary rezoning, Dillard Elementary School to Prairie Lakes Elementary School. 2 school board policies, policy IJOA, school field trips and excursions, and school board policy IA, student progression plan. During this rule development workshop, the school board will only be hearing public comments on the proposed rezonings and the proposed revisions to the aforementioned school board policies. Because this is not a regularly scheduled school board meeting, there'll be no non-agenda public comment period in which the public would normally address the school board on topics that are related to the work of the board. Should you wish to address the school board on another topic, please do so at the next regularly scheduled school board meeting. Again, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. School board members are attending in person with the exception of member Gallo, Vice Chair Gallo. Will she be attending by phone? Vice Chair, just for the record, could you indicate your presence or your attendance?
Hi, Madam Chair, I'm here.
Alrighty, thank you very much. I also want to remind the public and the board that board members will not be engaging in outside electronic or digital communication during the meeting, so we can focus on the meeting itself, giving our attention to the matters before us. To my fellow board members and district staff, when speaking, please make sure your microphone is turned on and speak directly into it so our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. We'll begin the meeting with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And now for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, since my co-pilot is not here in person, Member Byrd, if I it's up to you, but if I do need to step out for any reason, okay, thank you. You're welcome to step down here, whatever your pleasure. All right, let's begin. Dr. Vasquez, I'll recognize you to introduce the first hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will begin this afternoon's meeting with a presentation by Stacy Neal, Director of Student Enrollment, and her team regarding rezoning of our first rezoning process and for elementary 1 site 130-2.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Vasquez, Madam Chair, and school board members. Before I start, I would like to introduce additional student enrollment staff that are here today: senior administrators Amy McCormick, Dr. Andy Westerman, Renata Parapche, and Thomas Moore. Student enrollment is bringing forth a spring rezoning for 2024. 130E-2 school located in Lake Nona will provide relief to Laureate Park Elementary. 2 targeted, 1 located in Apopka, and it does involve both middle and high schools, referenced as Apopka Middle School and High School Adjustment. The last targeted rezoning is for growth occurring off Oak Ridge Road, involving several elementary schools, and referenced as Millennia Gardens, and a technical rezoning located in Ocoee Winter Garden. All rezoning follows school board policy JC. Staff, with direction from the superintendent, commences rezoning. A timeline is developed. Staff meets with principals, executive leaders, and school board members. Research and data is collected. Staff holds a community meeting. We are here at the Rural Development Workshop to present options. There is a public hearing, and finally, the rezoning notebook is created where the rezoning research is stored. Earlier, I named the rezoning rezonings we are bringing forth. However, I would like to elaborate of the rezoning types. Technical rezoning generally are uninhabited property and no students are involved. Targeted rezonings affects a small area and limited number of students are involved. Finally, relief schools are when there is an opening of a new school and it affects a large area and a large number of students. The rezoning timeline. On February 12, 2024, student enrollment held a community meeting here in the REBLC at 6 p.m. And I would like to note that no members of the community attended. Although not part of the rezoning process, student enrollment participated in the school board workshop session on February 20th, 2024, and today the school board rule development workshop, and the future April 23rd is the public hearing. At the completion of the rezoning, and if approved, all technical and targeted rezonings will commence August 2024. The Relief School 130E2 will commence for August 2025. Naming convention. Orange County Public Schools has a unique naming convention for relief schools. Here you see 130 is the real estate property number. The E is the school type, and in this situation, elementary, and the number at the end represents the school board member's district where the school is located. Rezoning on the website. All rezoning can be found on the Orange County Public School website at www.ocps.net. From the website header, click on Schools, then School Rezoning. On all current rezoning is separated by school level. The timeline is provided. The input survey links are located along with the current map options. Once the school board members vote, information is then relocated to the board-approved rezonings section. Grandfathered transfers. Orange County Public Schools offers grandfathered transfer for students involved in the rezoning. The grandfathered transfer can be found on the Orange County website by hovering over the header Current Families, click on School Choice, and from there, click on Student Enrollment Transfers. The grandfathered transfers, click on and apply for the grandfathered transfer. The grandfathered transfer is for current students who have been rezoned by OCPS 2 or more times during a school level and have resided at the current address. Students rezoned from an established to another established school have the option to remain at the existing school instead of attending the rezoned school. This transfer is also available to students who will be in the 5th or 8th grade and rezoned to a new relief elementary or middle school. It is also important to mention transportation is not provided by OCPS, and siblings of the students granted the grandfather transfer are eligible to apply for the transfer as long as the school has an available seat and the school is not over capacity. This sibling transfer is granted for 1 school year. The deadline to apply for the transfer is April 30th, 2024 for the targeted rezonings, and beginning February 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2025 for the Relief School 130E2. Community input. At the end of the rule development workshop, survey links will become available for parents to provide input on the options presented today. Each area has a corresponding link, and parents have until 7:30 a.m. Tuesday, April 12th, to provide input. When submitting input, it is important to include your name and address, and input is limited to one per household. In addition to the survey links, families may submit petitions or email to schoolrezoning@ocps.net. Keep in mind, 1 input per family. If multiple submissions are received, student enrollment will submit to the school board members your last submission. This concludes my introduction, and now Renata will walk everyone through the rezonings, beginning with Relief School 130E2.
Good evening. I'm Renata Paropce, and I will present the proposed rezonings today. Our first rezoning is a relief school for Laureate Park Elementary School 130 E2. Before we move on to the options, Tommy will orient you with the growth map for the Lake Nona area.
Okay, hi. So I believe you've seen this map before. This is in the southeast area in Lake Nona. The colored areas are projects in our residential database that are either planned, platting, which means they're getting ready to start, or underway. We are in the southeast part, which has been the fastest growing, has been one of the fastest growing areas in the area of the district for about 15 years. We've had 12,000 new students in the past 15 years, and the district has built 8 new relief schools so far in that same time frame. In addition, we have a new middle and a high school that we're opening up this coming fall. So today we're discussing Elementary 130, which is in South Lake Nona. South Lake Nona is undergoing construction of about 1,600 new units on the eastern portion of the area. The western portion is going to start in about a year or so with over 2,500 new units. New residential construction is occurring at a rate of about 150 to 250 homes a year right now. In addition, we have some anticipated residential construction in the south part of the Eagle Creek zone. This is an area not within the Eagle Creek community, but within the attendance zone for Eagle Creek. Putting this area in a new school could potentially relieve Eagle Creek School from future overcrowding. All right.
This is our option 1. Let me orient you through the map. The red lines represent current elementary zones. The bottom line is the Orange Osceola County line. Laureate Park Elementary is the only school involved in this option. The new zones are in color. Laureate Park is in pink, and the new school is in yellow. The dividing line follows the newly established zone for the new middle school, 129 MSE2. Each proposed zone is accompanied by a text box with the following information: name of the school, permanent program capacity, proposed number of students in the new zone, and projected number of students to attend the school in August of 2025 when the new school opens. For example, Laureate Park Elementary, permanent program capacity 791. The proposed number of students residing in the new zone is 953, and projected number of students to attend Laureate Park in August 2025 is between 860 and 880. Please take a moment to review the map. The next slide represents a demographic overview of the rezoning. The first column shows the name of the school involved in the rezoning with the school's permanent program capacity. 130 E2 with 791 capacity, and Laureate Park Elementary with also 791 capacity. The next column displays student enrollment captured on October 16, 2023, with a percentage breakdown for race and ethnicity, white, black, and other, and non-Hispanic and Hispanic. For Laureate Park as follows: 1,163 enrollment, 70% white, 7% black, and 20% other, 58% non-Hispanic, and 42% Hispanic. The third column displays the current number of students residing in each zone. There are 1,198 students in Laureate Park zone. The next column shows how many students will be residing in each zone if this rezoning takes place. In 130E2, 245 students with 64% white, 13% black, 23% other, 53% non-Hispanic, and 47% Hispanic. The projected number of students attending 130E2 in 2025 will be between 480 and 500 students. For Laureate Park, the numbers are as follow: 953 students with 76% white, 5% black, and 19% other, and 61% non-Hispanic and 39% Hispanic. There are between 860 and 880 students projected to attend Laureate Park in August 2025 if this rezoning takes place. The next column is farms, free introduced meals. The proposed percentage for 130E2 is 16. The current percent for Laureate Park is 13% and the proposed is 12. ESE, exceptional student education, is 9% for 130E2. For Laureate Park is 8% for current and proposed. ELL, English language learners, are 22% proposed for the new school. ELL for Laureate Park is 12% current and 9% proposed. And we have option 2. Option 2 includes 2 schools, Laureate Park Elementary and Eagle Creek Elementary School. The new zones are in color. Laureate Park is in pink, Eagle Creek is in green, and the new school is in yellow. No current Eagle Creek students are affected by this option. The southern part of the Eagle Creek zone is being moved to the new zone. Please take a moment to review the map. And there is the demographic breakdown for option 2. And we put both maps together for you to compare. And again, option 1 only includes Laureate Park. Option 2 includes also Eagle Creek. And there's the option overview next to each other, option 1 and option 2. If approved, this rezoning will commence in August 2025. Superintendent staff recommendation is option 2. We received input from 9 families. For option 1, there are 8 families supporting and 1 is opposing. And for option 2, there are 3 families supporting and 6 families opposing. This concludes my presentation for the Relief School 130E2. Dr. Vasquez?
Thank you. And now we are ready for any questions from the board.
Thank you. Member Salamanca?
Thank you, Chair. We got very limited feedback from the community on the surveys, but on the opposing for that, do we get comments or what were the main reasons behind that? Because I didn't, the parents I've talked to and the community meetings did not have any opposition to option 2. I just want to see if we have any details on those 6 people.
So the comments that we received, and you should have attachments to your at your board docs.
Yeah, I got it through. Yep.
Option 2, so actually there is the one that do support, say option 2 provides the most amount of relief to both Laureate Park and Eagle Creek. And the other comment that we received is option 2 seems to make more sense and it allows some relief of Eagle Creek as well. There were no other comments beside some There is one that's opposing with questions not really related to the options.
Got it. Yeah, well, I'm supportive of the superintendent and staff's recommendation of option 2. I think it is maximizing the most relief for that area, and it does not break up the Eagle Creek community, which was one of the main concerns we had earlier in the process. So it makes a lot of sense. That will be a brand new community, and they'll all be together.
Okay.
Thank you.
Easy. Here you go.
Now the next one.
Go ahead. Let's hear for the next one.
Okay. Our next rezoning is targeted rezoning Piedmont Lakes Middle School and Apopka Middle School adjustments. The green lines on the map represent current middle school zones. The targeted area is in yellow. It is currently zoned for Piedmont Lakes Middle School. There are 21 OCPS middle school students residing in this area. If this rezoning is approved, this is how the zones are going to look. In green, Apopka Middle School, and purple, Piedmont Lakes Middle School. And the hashed area is the targeted area. This rezoning will commence in August 2024. The next slide represents a demographic overview of the rezoning. And I will give you a moment to review the numbers. We have received input from 5 families supporting this rezoning. And the next targeted rezoning is the Wekiva High School, Apopka High School adjustment. On the map, the blue lines represent current high school zones. The targeted area is in yellow. It is currently zoned for Wekiva High School. There are 20 OCPS high school students residing in this area. If this rezoning is approved, this is how the zones are going to look. In green, Apopka High School, and purple, Wekiva High School. And the hashed area is the targeted area. This rezoning will commence in August 2024. There is a demographic overview of the rezoning. And we have received input from 1 family in support of this rezoning. Stacy.
As part of the research for the Apopka targeted rezoning, we researched answers regarding transportation. To refresh your memory of the questions, will the rezoning from Piedmont Lakes to Apopka eliminate buses? If yes, how many? There are currently 2 buses serving the area for Piedmont Lakes Middle School. With the rezoning, we could eliminate or possibly eliminate 1 bus. Will the rezoning from Wekiva High School to Apopka High School eliminate busing? If yes, how many? No, this depends on the student population, and it actually may increase or add another bus. There are currently 2 buses that serve Apopka High School in the area, but both buses are close to their maximum capacity. Will the time on the bus change? If yes, how much, less or more, will the students be on the bus? Yes, the time most likely would change, and that too depends on how many students will be enrolled at the time. How many students from the rezoning are currently using the bus to each of the schools? Piedmont Lakes Middle School has 16 students. With the rezoning, only 2 or 3 will be eligible for transportation to Apopka. Wekiva High School has 14 students, and with the rezoning, all of them will be eligible for transportation to Apopka High School. And then finally, there was a question regarding any incidents with buses being late to and from Piedmont Lakes from to and from Wekiva High School? If yes, how late was the bus? How often was the bus late? Yes, there was to Piedmont Lakes Middle School. It was 10 to 40 minutes late, and this occurred 3 times in the month of February, and there were none for Wekiva High School. Superintendent staff does not recommend moving forward with the targeted rezoning, and this concludes the presentation of Piedmont Lakes Middle School to Apopka Middle School, Wekiva High School to Apopka High School adjustment. Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you so much. I know that this last rezoning had a lot of conversation around it, and staff came up with what I perceive to be a unique possible solution that would not only impact the families at Piedmont, but could possibly then be extended to other other schools across our district that are under capacity. So I'm going to turn it back over to Stacy so she can present this possible new idea that we have termed proximity transfer.
So rezoning is not always possible, and student enrollment is currently researching ways to create community schools while helping to eliminate some busing needs. We would like to introduce the proximity transfer. This transfer would allow high school and middle school families who live within 2 miles of a school to apply for the school in their neighborhood. This mile requirement would be lessened to 1 mile for elementary students. The requested school must have capacity as determined by the Office of Student Enrollment. This transfer will be processed year-round, seats issued upon order we receive requests, and siblings who reside at the same address will qualify as long as there are seats available. Like other transfers offered through the Office of Student Enrollment, transportation is not provided, nor would students qualify would they qualify for a bus within the 2-mile radius. If we use the current targeted rezoning as an example, students residing on either side of Apopka Middle School zoned for other schools could apply for the transfer and could be granted a seat. This transfer in this situation would eliminate the need to rezone while meeting some families' requests for their students to attend schools closer to home.
Thank you. And just as a point of reference, if the board does elect to move forward to this, we would have to go through the entire rulemaking process. But we wanted to present this as a possible option for not only the Piedmont rezoning, but for other schools that have capacity and are within the 2 miles for middle and high school. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member Castellano.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I have a question. Maybe you discussed it, maybe I missed it. The proximity transfer. First, I think it's a great creative solution for a number of kids and families who are seeking this flexibility. And how would those students be prioritized when we also have the other open enrollment transfers from across the district?
So student enrollment would use a different threshold to offer seats to, or a percentage of available seats to each school for students to apply for this transfer, because controlled open enrollment transfers to schools who have a threshold of 90%. So they go on a list and they become eligible. However, some schools may not, but the parent could apply, and we would look to see if capacity is available at that time for a student to apply to attend the requested school. So it may not be advertised, the school, like the controlled open enrollment, but they could apply to see if they could get a seat, and it would be first come, first serve.
Okay, so it's not an automatic transfer. if they live within that 2-mile radius, or is it 2-mile radius? Yes. The school would have to have a certain level of availability.
Yes.
Okay. That makes so much sense to me. I appreciate whoever was able to come up with this solution.
It was a teamwork.
Team. Great team. That was, I mean, really, this was, you considered so many factors in coming up with this, things that wouldn't work, things that we have so many restrictions with our transportation issue, with the needs of the families and the desires of those who really could just walk to a school, yet for other reasons we can't necessarily just redraw the zones. So this makes a lot of sense. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Castrodano. Member Gould.
Thank you for really thinking beyond what we've done before and being innovative in a very tight marketplace, because we're kind of squished between two things, right? We're squished between choice, which we want for our students, but we also have capacity issues because we have such high growth and highly desirable areas, and sometimes that makes it difficult for certain students who might be better in one school versus another. So thank you for really thinking about and coming up with such a great option. I look forward to crossing this one over the finish line. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Gould. Member Farran.
I think I'm just reiterating what everybody else said, but really like this. I like the way that we're trying to build that community school feel again, and so I think this is a great option. I think as we looked at the how it would work if we tried to do the typical rezoning, it just wasn't working. It was causing a lot of could cause more issues down the road, and almost more like a Band-Aid effect instead of really fixing a problem. And so I think with this, if there are several families that want to transfer over, they would have that option and that opportunity. I do want to see if a sibling, I know I've had this issue before, so if so say we get a family, they get their kid, they have a 4th grader, but their 6th grader right now in middle school wants to be transferred into the middle school that's closer to their home. They get the transfer, and then they're now in 8th grade, their sibling comes in and they are now wanting to go into 6th grade, but the school is, say, at capacity. Would that sibling be able to get in? Because that's probably one of my biggest things. I feel like once a family's in, they should sort of just be in. But I don't know how that works.
Agreed. And we will make whatever we can do happen.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Member Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. I like the idea of the proximity transfer as well. My concern, of course, is just that you have to have capacity. So, this doesn't help with the Apopka High School, of course, because Apopka High School doesn't have capacity. So if those parents were able to transfer to Apopka Middle, then for high school, they're stuck separating their kids again and going back to Wekiva. So it doesn't really help this particular example. But I understand, staff's concerns with rezoning this one section. I still just have, such heartburn about not listening to those families when they tell me, that the bus is late or their kid keeps missing first period, and they literally can walk. And I know you guys have mapped it and said that it's 2.5 miles, but there are back easier ways to get to that middle school. It's really close to their homes. So, in that Piedmont is just so far from them. But I know that there are other neighborhoods that are in the same situation. So I get the concern. But as a board member who's, supposed to be representing my constituents and people that come to me and my families that come to me, it's hard for me to just not listen to that and not give them an easier option. We do have room. We think that Apopka Middle would have capacity for a proximity transfer if we went that route for these families.
You're asking, I'm sorry.
The middle school.
If the middle school has capacity? Yes, the middle school has capacity.
At this time, but
Yes.
probably not for a long time. There's a lot coming up there. So okay, let me ask you another question. You have 20, you say that there's 20 high school students that reside in that area that are zoned for Wekiva. And I think I asked you this before. Do we know how many actually attend our high schools?
So of the 2015 are attending Wekiva High School currently.
Okay. I'm really torn on this one. I do understand. I understand all the points. I just have a really hard time not doing what I really feel like is best for these kids, which is not sitting on a bus when they don't have to be on a bus. That's my biggest concern, is just not doing that. Is it possible to not move this forward to the next step for this would be, if we did try to move it forward, next step would be what? The vote by the board?
Right, it would go to the public hearing.
For a public hearing. Yes, Superintendent. Go ahead, sorry.
Can't wait for the new microphones to arrive. So I know this is difficult, and I don't want to make it more difficult, but we do have, and I don't remember if you showed this, but we do have a neighborhood that's actually closer, correct?
Yes.
Closer than this neighborhood, and it has,
there was one neighborhood that had 120 students that's actually closer to Apopka Middle School that would then send the school over capacity.
Is that the one I asked you about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So-
And then this option, though, would not only cover your requested neighborhood, but beyond on both sides of Apopka Middle School.
right, so it
Allow.
would take, yeah, it would, so staff's concern is that we have a neighborhood with 100-plus students that's actually closer, that now, I would venture may also then want that request.
Yes.
So it's a larger number. And I understand the issue with them sitting on the bus with the transfer, the proximity transfer to the middle school, that solves the bus problem. And I get then that it's another problem when they get to, the high school. So it doesn't fix that problem. So that was just the points I wanted to make, that it could then potentially be another 100 students that we would be taking out of, correct, this, they also go to Wekiva.
Those kids go over 120. No, I think.
No, okay, they go to Apopka.
No.
Okay, they would be
Correct.
taking them out of Piedmont. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Chair. Can I-
No, that's okay.
Okay. I kind of got a little clarity when you were speaking. the bus issue is the biggest issue, and the proximity transfer would solve that issue for our middle schoolers. Our high school, that's another issue. But I'm fine moving ahead with proximity, not moving on with this targeted transfer at this time. But I do think that there's still room for conversations around rezonings for schools to and the proximity is a good start, but my concern just is, I think there's a lot of schools that wouldn't work for because of capacity. So, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't still look for other ways to move those zones around to reduce the transportation needs. So I still think that we need to do that a little bit. But yeah, I'm fine with moving forward and not doing the targeted rezone at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Byrd. Member Ferrand.
My question was, just real quick, when we measure that 2-mile radius for the buses or walkers, is that based on driving or on walking path?
It's a crow's flies.
Ours was 2-mile radius driving. Transportation actually takes in consideration walking and paths, but ours was not. Ours was as the crow flies.
So for the proximity transfer, it is a 2-mile buffer that could be more than 2 miles of walking. So it really extends beyond 2 miles. But when we do the rezoning, and if we look at the targeted area, for example, here, they are, by the bus rules, they are more than 2 miles, so they will require a bus.
So, and when the buses, when you're calculating a bus route, then that has to be via car, not
Correct.
a walking path. So even if the kids, like Member Byrd was saying, they have a pathway out their back door through the lake or whatnot, and it's maybe a mile. So we don't calculate that. We calculate driving.
It has to be calculated by the bus route, which is over 2 miles.
So, and maybe that's something that we can look at as well, like what you're saying, if we were to look at this down the road, trying to see how we can get kids as many walking and getting them out and more community, that community school feel again. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And just, with the transportation piece, that's not our world. We just wanted to do by 2 miles that we could from our mapping.
Okay. And if they chose the proximity option and they were outside of the 2 miles, we're not going to bus them. That's going to what are we going to do if it's a hazardous? Are we going to be okay as far as the statute, I think, is my question.
So once we're not transportation, and our transfers are not based on transportation, because none of our transfers come with transportation. But also remember, this is a proximity transfer. So if you're outside of the 2 miles that we offer, you would not be approved for the transfer. So that's why I was saying, because it's 2 miles, there's no bus either way.
Okay, but if we're doing as the crow flies, and you're within 2 miles, but the bus route or car route or even walking route is 3 miles, which, just hypothetical, it could be 2.5 miles, but it can definitely be longer because our kids aren't crows and they don't fly. And we don't want them going through lakes either. So I'm just wanting to make sure that from a statutory standpoint, that once we create this option, that we're not going to be bound to bus them, that this is a transfer option as opposed to, because transfer options, we're not busing the kids. So can somebody assure me that this will fall under that same category so that we won't be in that situation.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, before Deputy Counsel chimes in, is, right, so this is what we're presenting today. We still have a long ways to go as far as ironing out the details as far as this transfer and the details, the nitty-gritty, as we say. And the questions are great, and I'm sure as we move along, we'll have even more questions, and we'll speak to this board for input as well. But the transfers that we currently have, I would argue that they are, a parent is electing. It is not the zone school. So the parent is opting for this type of transfer. And within our policy, it states that transportation is not afforded to the student for this type of transfer option. But I'll obviously ask our Deputy Counsel for his wisdom.
Do you have some wisdom to share with us, Deputy Counsel?
Allegedly, I've looked up the
Allegedly,
rule.
you do.
So it's
Well,
rule,
we'll see what you have to say, and then we'll determine
Sure.
how wise it is. Please share your wisdom.
It's rule 6A 3.001 subsection 3 for those scoring at home. It says a reasonable walking distance for any student who's not otherwise eligible for transportation is a distance not more than 2 miles between the home and school. And it says such distance shall be measured by the closest pedestrian entry point of the property where the student resides to the closest pedestrian entry point of the assigned school building or to the assigned bus stop. The pedestrian entry point to the residence shall be where the private property meets the public right-of-way. The district shall determine the shortest pedestrian route, whether or not is accessible to motor vehicle
That's what I
traffic.
thought.
So it
Thank
is 2 miles how they walk to school, not as the crow flies. So if it is a longer walking route than 2 miles, then you are in line for transportation under the statute. That's what it would otherwise be. Not with transfers.
So again, because when we're talking about elementary school, and especially if we're talking about hazardous conditions, I want to make sure that just because we say it's a transfer, it doesn't apply. But again, we're not doing it right now. Just
Right.
everybody take a serious look at that with legal counsel. And then the other concern that, I like it. I like it a lot. It seems so obvious. The one concern that I have, and it's probably hypothetical and might not be an issue, but it's really important to me that there's diversity in our schools. I think it's important to most of us, but I know that the board has also tried to go back to neighborhood schools. I think I've probably shared this publicly, but my school in Miami, my middle school, junior high school, my first year was the first year that they integrated schools. And the profound impact that had on me it literally changed my life in a very, very positive way. And the direction and my understanding about people of color was so different the day before I started than it was a week later. And I share that with you because the only thing I'm worried about with proximity is, do we end up with so many kids that opt in that we lose that diversity that is so valuable for children to learn that we're all the same on the inside. So just look at these examples when you go through this. Again, I doubt, because we're only talking about where there's capacity, but then we do have some schools with a lot of capacity, that my request would be that we look at ensuring that there's a reasonable amount of diversity within the schools. So, yeah. Okay, thank you. Member Felder.
Thank you. Yes, okay. I thought the proximity transfer was a great idea because I think we will always be faced with deliberations as it relates to rezoning and moving people or, to places. But I think it gives, and I understand your point, Chair, we do want to make sure that we don't enter into a problem where there is not enough diversity. But I think this district is growing so fast, so quickly in terms of housings and people that in communities. It's hard to go into a community where you not find some type of diversity there. I mean, my community, my neighborhood was founded in 1946 when segregation was at an all-time high, and I'm telling you, it's all kind. Everybody is there, So I do have concern. I think that's the reason why we did what we did, so that we could have children be able to experience diversity and do that. But I think because parents are concerned about where their children are going to school, and sometimes, they want to be with their friends, and sometimes communities come up quicker than people are ready to deal with it. A good example, where I live, Jones High is about 2.5 miles from my house, but people in my neighborhood, they were bused to Edgewater. I stay between two projects. Lake Man was bused to Evans. Mercerton Terrace went to Jones. Johnson Village went to Jones, but Richmond Heights was bused to Oak Ridge. So, but now, if you're, not less than 2.5 miles, you have an opportunity to stay, to move. So I think, as you've suggested, other board members, that education takes time. We can't rush through it, but I just want to let you know, I appreciate the effort of your committee to give us a fresh alternative with proximity transfer. That's to me, that's a good deal for parents. So, but we are going to probably kind of have to take that slow, because some people are still not going to be satisfied or happy with that, think that's not enough, and they'll do what the chairperson said. There won't be any diversity, and we have to maintain that. But I appreciate the effort, and I personally like the proximity transfer. I like it. Thank you.
And because I ended on maybe a negative note, I'm very much like the proximity transfer, and I think that it's going to work out really well. I just want to make sure that, again, we're at the first stage of this process. It's just one of those things to look at. Superintendent, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we appreciate the dialogue and the discussion, because again, something seems like a great idea, and I was thrilled that we had a little bit of a win with this, not 100%, but a little bit of a win. And so I'm letting the board know that the team is going to continue to go back and see if there are other creative ways that we are able to allow more choice. We recognize that the environment that we are in demands it. And we are committed to trying to find as many opportunities for our families to have choice that best meets the needs of their child, and understanding the role diversity plays. But in some cases, we're taking students who are diverse out of a diverse community and moving them to another diverse community. And, that's because the rezonings happened, some of them happened, maybe 10 years ago, and the community has significantly changed. So all of that may allow us to be a little bit more creative in how we are able to mitigate some of these concerns that board member Bird has brought up about transportation, because I recognize we don't want children missing school. So we're committed to continuing to find ways to have students in our schools. And we will continue to tweak, as part of the rural development process, the proximity transfer, because we need to take a deep dive to see what it means if they are able to walk. We're giving them that opportunity. So the chair, you brought up some good points. Thank you.
Member Byrd.
My mind just went blank. Oh my God. See?
Coffee.
No, I had two things to say. Oh my gosh.
We've all been there. And we're not going anywhere. So when it comes back to you,
It's going to come right back.
okay? Yeah? Jot a note and buzz back in, and we'll recognize you, okay? Member Casterdental.
I'll cover for you. Got a few
Yeah.
minutes. Oh, wait, she got it.
Got it.
Let me write
Oh,
my
you got
thoughts
it?
down.
No,
Yeah, I was
now.
just going to say that, well, my first question is Apopka Middle School on the open capacity transfer? Are they that low? They're not that low.
Are they? Yes, they are.
Oh,
on
they
the
are?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I will share that information. I also think another important piece is that we really continue to work on our positive stories and communication about our schools. Because I read some concerning comments from the public, which I'm not surprised by, about the high school choices. And but it's frustrating to me because, especially being a parent at the high school that was commented on, which has been a tremendously positive experience for my family. So I think that there's sometimes, there's only the negative stories out in the public arena, in the news, and I know we try, but I think we just have to do a better job of changing the narrative about some of the schools if we're going to make sure that families are choosing to send their kids to their own school. So that was all I wanted to say about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Casterdental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question, and maybe this, the process of a lottery for our magnet programs already takes care of itself, that the lotteries would happen first, and then we look at capacity enrollments. I mean, where would this so-called proximity transfer, or it's kind of like a geo-preference, but where
does it
where
rank?
does it fall in the process of, or have you thought about that yet?
It would be open year-round, and we haven't thought about it. So
Okay. Something to
we wanted
consider.
to bring it right to you all and see if it was viable.
Just one example I'm thinking about is a Hillcrest foreign language or world language school. I know they have a lottery a certain time of the year, and then if we would do this proximity transfer, that would, if someone wanted to come in the middle of the year, I don't know if that's how that works. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Madam Chair, if I may. So, right, transfers do not apply to magnet programs or magnet schools, right? So we would not, if we move forward with this transfer, it would not apply to the magnet schools of Howard, Hillcrest, OGA, right? Orlando Gifted. Nor would it apply to a magnet program for Maxey Elementary School, the performing arts. So although Maxey may be on the controlled open enrollment and may have additional seats, as an example, after the lottery, then the proximity transfer would be available.
Okay.
Right? So we don't transfer into a magnet, I guess is my simple way of
Right.
answering that question.
No, that's good. I want to make sure that's clear for me if I get questions. Because those 3 schools you mentioned are in my zone, my district, and I often get questions from parents. And if they see that there's another avenue to get in, they will really pay attention to that. I just want to make sure that there are no questions. Thank you.
All right. That completes comments from the board members. Dr. Vasquez, back to you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I believe we are moving now to, is it our policies? Oh, we have the target rezoning. I'm sorry. I got so involved and so excited about the proximity transfer. All right, so we're now going to move to our targeted rezoning, and I'll turn it back over to Stacy.
Renata.
The next rezoning is Millennia Gardens option. The purpose of this rezoning is to reduce current and future over-enrollment at Millennia Gardens. The red lines on the map represent current elementary school boundary lines. The following schools are included in this rezoning: Millennia Gardens Elementary, Sadler Elementary, Palmetto Elementary, Pine Log Elementary, and Lancaster Elementary. The new zones are in color. Millennia Gardens is in yellow, Palmetto is in orange, Sadler is in blue, Pine Log is in green, and Lancaster is in purple. Each proposed zone is accompanied by a text box with the following information: name of the school, permanent program capacity, proposed number of students in the new zone, and projected number of students to attend school in August of 2024. For example, Millennia Gardens permanent program capacity is 730. The proposed number of students residing in the new zone is 748, and the projected number of students to attend Millennia Gardens in August 2024 is between 700 and 720. I will give you a moment to review the map. And there's the demographic breakdown for each school. Please take a moment to review the numbers. If approved, this rezoning would commence in August 2024. We have not received any input from the community, and superintendent staff recommendation is to move forward with this rezoning. This concludes my presentation for Millennia Gardens option. Dr. Vasquez.
And Millennia Gardens, I believe, is in Member Felder's district,
Yes,
correct?
it is.
Thank you. Your thoughts on the recommendation?
Oh, yeah, well, when we met, we talked about it. My district, there are more people moving in, but there's really no room. Oh, I'm sorry.
Close.
I'm sorry, thank you. The dilemma that I have in my district is that it's constantly spreading out and growing, but there's no room to build a lot of other schools, so we're going to have to find ways to maneuver. What they showed me, it's strategic. They're going to wait before they start pulling students from some of the areas, but they're going to try to wait until some of the, the communities come up, and then they're going to kind of slowly kind of move people so that there won't be an onslaught of people just moving, because as we know, as a board, parents, they don't really like to move out of their comfort zones where they the children have playmates and where they're accustomed to going. But the way that they explained to me, I liked it. I was in agreement with what they said, and I know that it's going to be like a slow kind of deliberate move so that people, will not be unhappy. And we talked about that a week ago, 2 weeks ago. We talked about it a while back. Talked about it. All right.
Okay, any comments from any, thank you. Any comments or concerns from any other board members at this time? All right, if not, I think we have direction. Technical rezoning?
Our last rezoning for tonight is technical Ocoee Crown Point Planned Unit Development Alignment. On the map, the red lines represent current elementary zones. The hashed area is the PUD property that is located within two elementary school zones, Prairie Lake Elementary and Dillard Street. The area to be rezoned is in yellow. The area in pink is an adjacent property, which is Ocoee High School property. Both areas are currently zoned for Prairie Lake Elementary Zone. If approved, the targeted area and the adjacent property will be moved from Prairie Lake to the Dillard Street Elementary Zone. This will allow the entire development to be zoned for the same school. There are currently no OCPS elementary students residing there. The targeted area is expected to generate 40 elementary students. And there is the site plan of the development where you can see the West Orange Trail dividing the property. If this rezoning is approved, this is how the zones are going to look. The purple area is the Prairie Lake Zone, and the green area is the Dillard Street Zone. This rezoning will commence in August 2024. And this is the hashed area of the technical rezoning. We have not received any input from the community, and superintendent staff recommendation is to move forward with this rezoning. This concludes my presentation for Ocoee Crown Point Planned Unit Development Alignment. Dr. Vasquez.
Is our last this afternoon.
Member Byrd?
I'm in support of this rezoning. Thank you for your work on it, and thank you for your work on all of this. I always tell you when we meet, I'm always amazed at the work that you all do. It's no easy task. It's like, what's that game, Tetris? Yeah, it's like that. It's crazy. But with so many more factors, right, than just color and shape. But I really do appreciate you and appreciate your team. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Byrd. And I agree. That was a much better description. I thought a 3D puzzle. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how. Yeah. Okay, no other comments or input from the board. I would say the board is comfortable with moving this forward. No, not yet. Rule development workshop. All right, Dr. Vasquez, back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are now moving to reviewing the proposed revisions to two of our school board policies. The first policy is IJOA, school trips and excursions. If you will recall, it was brought to our attention, I believe it was Board Member Gallo, that one of our policies prohibited students to go on field trips the last 2 weeks of school. And we have schools that do take field trips at that time, and so we needed to revisit this policy in the short term. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Josh Niesman, who will walk us through the changes.
Good afternoon, Chair Jacobs, members of the board, and Superintendent Vasquez. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to bring changes to policy IJOA closer to the finish line. Just so we are all on the same page here, being on this side of the microphone was in my 5-year plan, not the 5-week plan, but it's nice to see you all again. Once again, my name is Josh Niesman. I am the opportunity to represent our team in risk management and the policy revision team. Okay, so this is step one of a two-part process that will encompass a number of revisions and consolidations to several board policies to align and create a much more cohesive product that will assist our staff and in understanding a number of policy rules ranging from chaperones to trips to special events. The policy that we will be working through now is our school trips and excursions, again, policy IJOA. This particular policy was brought back primarily to address the moratorium on field trips at the final 2 weeks of school. Since this was a fairly straightforward change, we took the additional effort to correct some grammatical changes, some spelling errors, and that were exposed upon our review. Our revision team also aligned the verbiage with the current and appropriate OCPS vernacular. Our team also managed to outline expectations for indemnity when our students travel, our students and staff travel outside the state borders, whether it be domestic or international. Next, the broadly subjective phrasing of high-risk activities is also going to be removed from this policy, as our district's risk appetite is ever-changing based on a number of factors. Finally, we've taken the further steps to clarify disqualifying participation in school trips and excursion as it pertains to suspensions. And that is in 7 of the second slide, or the number 2 slide. 7 slide, second page. So what happens now? Well, my 30 seconds of YouTube fame comes to a screeching halt, and input will be taken, and we will plan.
You have another 30 seconds in life, right? Isn't it a minute? That we all, a minute of fame, so
I'll hurry.
You're half there.
I'll get there.
I can't wait to see the other half.
That's step 2. Input will be taken from, and we will plan to get this scheduled for our next school board meeting on April 2nd, 2024. In the meantime, our team will work diligently to get that extra minute of fame in coming back to you all with a much longer, invigorating conversation, otherwise known as step 2.
Thank
policy. What questions do you have on this policy at this time?
All right. Let me ask first, do we have any members of the public? No? Okay, thank you. Any board member questions at this time? And let me ask Vice Chair, who is on the call, I think, still with us. Since Vice Chair, we appreciate very much you bringing this to the board's attention, so we have the opportunity to correct something that otherwise would have gone unnoticed without your diligence. So do you have any input at this time?
Hi, Madam Chair. I'm in complete agreement with this policy change.
All right, thank you. Any other board members with any questions or concerns? No? Of course, Member Castor-Dental.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question about whether you receive so many requests for field trips now that we allow this opportunity that it becomes burdensome to people who have to monitor, whether it's transportation or our additions unit. I just want to know if there's a way that we can monitor if the change in this policy affects a lot of other people, making it more difficult.
So it's a great question. We have set up a system to register the field trip events. which we monitor. We have a program coordinator that's what she does, and she is very, very good at it. And like we mentioned, like Superintendent Vasquez mentioned, this was a policy that was kind of overlooked over the years. So it was happening prior. And when we talked about this, Senior Director, when in transportation, had given me a call and said, hey, if we have the last 2 weeks, we have a lot of bus drivers that take those 2 weeks off and they go do their own thing, so we might be short on bus drivers. So we did a deep dive. We had 10 events scheduled. As of now, 10 events scheduled post May 10th. 8 of them are taking charter buses.
Yeah.
2 of them are taking regular school buses. And then now we have one big group going to, I believe, Universal, that are going to take 7 buses and going to take the whole school. And we checked with, and it was on a grant, and it went directly, as soon as we found out about it in risk management, it went directly to transportation. Transportation's able to accommodate them. And the nice thing is that, now I don't know if y'all were on the board when this was made, but the wisdom of the board, there's a policy EEAF, which is special use of buses. And in that, it says, look, if we do not have buses available, you're going to have to find different transportation. We also have in this policy IJOA that says that we cannot deny somebody access to this field trips without if means aren't possible. That being said, those 2 things together, I think, is a really great thing. And then on all of our field trip request forms, we have them outline where the funds are going to come from if a student or a group of students cannot pay. And if in the conversation with transportation they can't accommodate a bus, a school bus, then that cost has to be built in with a charter bus of our procurement process. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, but we don't have an overwhelming response, bottom line, but if we do have a pickup in them, we will communicate that effectively with transportation, and they'll be on top of it, and we can make arrangements otherwise.
All right, thank you. And I appreciate your including the charter buses, because that is what a lot of schools end up doing for these larger trips at the end of the year.
It seems to be going more that direction as of late.
Okay, thank you so much.
You bet.
All right, thank you, Member Castrodano. Any other questions on this policy? All right, then we can move on to the next policy, I think our last policy. It's item 4.03 on the agenda, and that's revisions to School Board Policy IA Student Progression Plan. Dr. Vasquez.
Mary Bridges will begin the presentation, and then Sarah Kopesky will join in.
For support.
Hello again. This is Policy IA, the Student Progression Plan. This plan also has 2 steps. And step 1 is what we'll be discussing today, and that is a revision that we needed to make immediately into the student progression plan. The focus on the initial proposed revisions to Policy 1A is to remove the crosswalks of end-of-course exam grade percentages for Algebra 1 and Geometry. The FDOE created new exams, and they provided new scale scores in November. Therefore, a new crosswalk is needed in order to finalize course grades, with the EOCs counting as 30% for this year. We will also have a step 2 with the student progression plan later this spring and into the summer, and that will be a more comprehensive review of Policy IA. We'll bring forth substantial proposed revisions to include the incorporation of a student progression plan handbook, which will be a searchable guide that contains links and all expectations and requirements for students to progress. This student progression handbook will be more user-friendly for parents and legal guardians and staff than the current version of policy IA. So for the change that we need to make immediately, this is really just taking the state FDOE scale scores. We use the same, our research management and strategies department used the same practices they used in the past to create the percentages, but we just took each scale score and we equated it to a percentage number so that we could add that into 30% of the school grades. So in the plan, you'll just see the pages of each scale score to what the percent score is, and then what letter grade that would be. And so it's just kind of a page for each of those, if you want to see them all. For next steps, we will obtain input from the public at today's rule development workshop and from the school board on the proposed revision to remove the former EOC requirements and add the new requirements. After the final public hearing, we'll obtain final school board approval on April 2nd, 2024 for implementation by the end of the year for our students. And then we will work on step 2 with additional proposed revisions and the creation of the student progression plan handbook. And the next steps for step 2, which is that more comprehensive update. Now we are creating the student progression plan handbook, which is a searchable online guide with links. On April 9th, we'll have the second work session to report on our progress, provide a red line draft of policy IA, and present a draft of the student progression plan handbook, and to discuss further input. In April, May, we'll have individual meetings with school board members. June 18th, obtain further input from the public at the rule development workshop and from the school board on the proposed revisions. And June 25 would be the targeted public hearing and final school board meeting approval.
All right, any public comments? Okay. Any questions, comments, or concerns from board members? All right, step 1. I'm sorry, Member Kester-Dental.
I was waiting, thank you, Madam Chair. I was waiting until everyone else had no comment, because this is unrelated. But I still want to address you. Were you the one responsible for getting these rainbow lanyards for people that we could wear?
Yes.
I have gotten so many requests for them, and I don't know where to find them. So is there a way that we could share how people can get these? I get requests from staff members and teachers and people in the building here, so.
Absolutely. We actually, Equality Florida had provided them to us probably 3 or 4 years ago, and then we purchased more. We had a CDC grant and purchased more with that, but I do have the information, and we probably have grant money where we could be able to get them and hand them out rather than have people trying to get them themselves.
Well, if there's a way for people to know where to go, that would be really helpful, because I'm like, I don't know, they're a hot item. So thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, no further questions, no further comments from board members before we close the meeting. Then the meeting, step 1 is accomplished, and the meeting is now adjourned.